I'm Linda Denise, and I'm a dating coach. I used to be an attorney, and before that I was an accountant, so this is kind of my third iteration of my life and my career, and it's my favorite one by far.
I love it.
It's just talk about love and help people find love, and it's way more rewarding than, I like being an attorney, but not quite as on direct rewarding.
Right. No, that's why I'm so excited to have you here, because it's not often that I talk to somebody who's like I talk about it on my podcast, but you're actually like working with people and helping them find love. And so I'm really excited to be talking about this. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I love to talk about love. So
why don't we start by you talking about your love journey?
Sure.
Yeah.
So it was 2006. So, the internet dating wasn't quite what it is now. People were just really starting to get on it in a more, I think it was something like the factors were around 30% at the time, but nobody talked about it. Like you might all be on and talk, and you might tell just your girlfriends, but you didn't really tell people out in the world and you certainly didn't tell people that that's how you met if you did meet online. I never cared, so I would tell people, but it was just starting to kind of be a normal way to meet people.
Yeah.
And so I had friends who had met really lovely men online and were in good relationships. One was even married, and she kept encouraging me to go online, and I had been like 2 or 3 years prior to that, not had a good experience, and really getting matches that like, okay, look at me. I weighed about the same weight then that I do now, and I'm very active, but I am not an extreme sports person. Right. And that's who they kept matching me with. And I was like really honest. I'm like, why are you matching me with these people? I'm really honest. I'm active and I exercise a lot, but I am not extreme sport. Anyway, so I had not had great experiences for it. And for me in particular, being the weight I am, they were painful at times because I would have to then tell the person who couldn't see me that, I am overweight. And I had pictures online that were accurate, but for whatever reason, sometimes they would know. And I can't remember, maybe at that point, I think I was on eHarmony and maybe they didn't show pictures yet. I'm not sure. But it was really painful to say that over and over again and have them be rejected. At the same time, at that point in my personal development, I would just feel bad about myself. I wouldn't think about, they weren't the right person for you, so there's nothing to feel bad about. I didn't think that. I just thought, wow, another rejection.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel good.
No, and it reinforces that belief system that you're not good enough.
Right.
So, anyway, so in my daily life, I was very successful and I had really good friendships and really good friends. So I felt like this was a niche in my life that I could not figure out. So 3 years later, I decided to give it another try. I'm now in law school at night, working full time as a director of a very large company during the day. I have a son in college, and I just finally decided, okay, I got 3 months. I'm going to give it my all for 3 months.
Right.
And then this was during the summer, and when law school starts again in the fall, I'm not going to have that kind of dedication of time.
Yeah.
And my goal was to find someone that would be a good long-term prospect for dating. I mean, initially it was, I just want a good date. I want someone to date. And I didn't have a lot of time because I was at school. And so.
And kudos for you. You're a full-time student, you're a full-time mom, and now you're trying to get on
and working full-time.
And you're working full-time.
Actually, to be honest, my son was easy then because he was in college. So I didn't have to, weekend and, laundry duty every once in a while. But, and then 41, I've never been married. My son is legally biologically my nephew. So that he did not come from my personal relationship. So I had never I'd never even lived with anyone. Yeah. I dated, of course. And there were times I lived in Santa Barbara and San Francisco, and when I was in my 20s and early 30s, and I had a good time, but nothing serious.
Right.
And a couple of relationships that I thought would lead potentially, but either I would break it off or they would, and just nothing that came to fruition.
Right.
And by the time I'm 41, now I'm so busy, I'm not actively looking. I just kind of had that belief system for about 2 years that it would just come to me if I was supposed to be. If it's supposed to happen, it would come to me. Okay. And I'm just gonna let it be. Well, the problem with that is I wasn't meeting anyone because I was working and going to school, and I was
so busy.
And when I had spare time, I was with the same set of friends and I already knew the people in that group, which at my age at 41 was mostly married people with kids, or other women like me who were having a hard time finding love. So I didn't really have a lot of males that were in my right age group that were single. They were either married or unavailable somehow. And, and I still was struggling with the idea that I needed to lose weight. I needed to get my crap together, whatever. So I decided to approach it the only way an accountant who's becoming a lawyer can approach it, which is very project management driven.
Right.
Very, Post-it notes. How am I approaching it? I approached it like a part-time job that I had a project for. And
I'm looking at my wall.
I'm looking at your walls full of very organized Post-it notes. And that's the way I kind of originally approached it. I thought, but I also had a lot of heart about it. I really had to get real with myself. Yeah. That if I was going to put myself back out there, that I could not negotiate with myself from a lesser than position.
Right. Right.
So all that mind talk in my head that might say, this is as good as you're going to get. You should take what you can get at your age, at your weight, at your whatever the reason
that we tell ourselves.
Yeah. What are the reasons we tell ourselves that we're less than? Yeah. Or that we don't deserve something. We don't deserve that kind of love that makes you feel special and precious, and that you can in turn give. It's not just about what can we get, but what can we give? And
if I may just interrupt you for a second, I am so grateful that you are open to talking about that, because I've talked to so many women, family, friends, coworkers, random strangers, you name it. And one of the things that people always want to change about themselves, including myself, is I need to lose that whatever weight that I need to lose before I get into the dating pool, before I, there's always these things that...
Or get something removed or tucked
or something. And now it's like I'm in my 40s and I'm still trying to lose that 10, 15, 20 pounds that I've been wanting to lose before I get into the dating. So I am just so grateful that we're talking about this for one.
And there are strategies around whatever that it is to get you more comfortable, right? Because really it's our belief systems.
Yeah.
So we believe that. And the reality is most of us, especially by our time we're in our 40s, like I had gone up and down in weight throughout my life, but I had been overweight since I was 9. So was I really never going to be overweight for the rest of my life, even if I did lose it? No. And was I going to be really focused on my food the rest of it was like, if I did lose it, it was going to be this extreme thing. And so I had to get comfortable that I needed to see if there was a guy out there that met all my criteria, not just any guy that would, because if I just wanted any guy, frankly, even at my weight, I could go out and get any guy.
Right.
There are plenty of guys out there that like overweight women, and there's plenty of sites you can go to meet if you just want to meet any guy. But I wanted to meet a guy who met certain criteria.
Yeah. So you had a list of these things that
I did. So the first step was what I needed to work on my belief system. So my belief system that there isn't a guy out there that is of the quality that I want, that would be interested in me. I had to switch that. I had to work on that. So I basically just changed it into the opposite, whatever that, so no, there's a guy out there who will be in love with me just as I am, and who is high quality and has all these characteristics. So I had to first work on my belief systems. And then the second stage for me was taking my list of 58,000 things that I wanted in a guy, which is not realistic.
Right.
We all have those either mentally we have them or we have them written down.
Yeah.
And
guilty.
Or we just do, and that's fine to do your dream list. And I actually work with my clients on creating these things I call non-negotiables. And we start with a big list and we keep narrowing it down.
Yeah.
So I eventually narrowed it down, did this process for myself, narrowed it down to 5 things that I could, and again, I'm coming from this big business background, so I wanted it to be 5 things that it could be my elevator speech. So, when you're doing marketing, they in sales, they say, you got to be able to say what you do and what your goals are, what you have to offer, or what you're looking for, whatever it is, but it's got to be in an elevator ride.
Like in a few sentences
For me, that meant 5 or less things, so that I could just say blah, 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 if someone said, what are you looking for?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So in my case, it was someone who had the same shared values as me in a significant way, like really a significant overlap in values.
Like your core values.
My core values, what was most important to me, family, friends, being honest, being ethical, those kinds of things. Someone who made more money than they spent. So instead of saying, I want someone who makes 6 figures, that wasn't as important to me because those people can be in debt.
I know. Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. A really good point.
So mine was just don't spend whatever it is you make. It was not entirely relevant to me. I mean, we had the honesty. Honestly, I wanted to travel and I didn't want to pay for everything, so they would have to have some level of income. But if they're smart with their money and we're frugal in our traveling, I didn't put like a figure to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then I wanted someone who had a passion outside themselves.
Oh, okay.
Who were driven internally outward.
Yeah.
Whatever that was, whether it was their job and they really had a passion for it and it drove them, and it was kind of, some people are lucky enough to have those passion jobs.
Yeah.
Or charity work or something that was about giving back to community or giving to the world in some kind of creative or helpful way that left the world better than
kind of like what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. We leave it better than what came, or someone can have a nugget of something from you being around.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted someone who was generous, not necessarily financially, although that can be a way, but I really paid attention to tipping.
Oh,
for 2 reasons. One was it did show some generosity and some willingness to pay some of the lowest paid people, hardest working, lowest paid people, right? But also I wanted to see how they treated others. So it wasn't even just the tip, it was
it's like how do you order, how do you talk to them?
If something goes wrong, how do they talk to them?
How do you react?
And you can learn that pretty early on if you go on a date and it involves dinner. So that is something I'm very watchful. I was at the time when I was dating very watchful for, because that's how they treat how they treat others in that situation who they may deem as not at the same level as them was really, I consider them the same level, but the fact that they might not treat them the same level, because I used to do that work, so that may be part of why I had that view, but I put myself through college doing every little job I could, and then finally I wanted someone who had, I had a 1920s Tudor house. And I wanted someone who was handy around. I just wanted to have kind of a guy's guy that was handy. And that was just like, I'll do it with them. But I want someone who just can dig their hands in and help do stuff, but not even just the house, but and I'm not saying fix cars and the whole thing, but just had that aspect about themselves where they weren't helpless, where they were out kind of taking charge of things. And in my mind, it was this gentleman. And at the time, I didn't ask for someone that would court me specifically, although after a couple dates, that's what I decided it meant.
Oh, okay.
Because I went on a couple of dates where I was not treated like a lady, and they were treating me fine.
Even though they met all those criteria.
As far as I could tell. I mean, some of those criteria you don't find out right away.
Till later,
Like the financial one is something. Some there are ways, depending on what your criteria is, that you have to, that's something I work out with my clients on, is helping them know what level questions to ask and when, and how to get to that information. But I have a whole process that's too long for now, of going from that first meetup, whether it's in person or online, to the first date. And there's a process to try to, most of my clients don't have a lot of time. So being on the internet and having all that noise of the internet takes a lot of time. And so we try to do some hacks, basically, to try to reduce that. Throughout that process, I decided for myself, and I requested my clients do it as well, we practice kindness. And that was part of it, was the karma of, and I use that word because I don't have a better one, but it kind of putting out what you want to get back.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I wanted to say, if you spend the time to write me an email, and I am or whatever, when I look at your profile, if I don't agree that you're probably a good match for me based on the criteria I have, I notice something's missing or whatever, then I will send you a response back.
Yeah,
I won't
just let it say, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah,
and then give you a reason.
Right, and frankly, I have time-saving devices around that too, but I wanted them to experience it. I'm going to tell you, across the board, I got positive responses. And mostly it was because we don't tend to respond to people because of all the noise, because especially for women, we get a lot. You could get a lot. I mean, I was talking to 20 people a night sometimes on the nights that I was on.
Wow, yeah. It can be a lot, especially with the load that you had.
Right. Well, and at that point it was summer school, and so I had this deadline, which partly made me why I organized myself so well before I got online. And I wanted to be committed to not negotiate. So those things that I put out there as my non-negotiables, those were non-negotiables, meaning not with the other person, but with myself.
Right.
You don't negotiate with the other person about those things.
It's all about you.
Yeah, you negotiate in your head. He's really cute. He has money. We like a lot of the same things. He has a good sense of humor. Whatever those things are that are those yummy things that you really like about him. But he doesn't have these other things that I know from my history and experience I'm going to need.
Yeah.
Then because he doesn't have those, I'm going to negotiate with myself potentially because of all the yummy things.
Like, is it a deal breaker? Should I,
So you pre-decide those.
Yeah.
So that you're not negotiating with yourself.
I like that. This ties a lot into this episode that I don't know if I'm playing it before or after, where, knowing what your needs are. Yeah. And it makes it easier, even when you go on a date or when you're even looking at their profile, if it's an online thing, to know, okay, maybe, we're talking about somebody who's not polite. Sometimes you can tell even from the language that they use when they're writing, their description or whatever that is. And I love the idea of going out and paying attention to how they treat the server, how they tip the server, the waitress or waiter. That helps them.
In a prior life, I broke up with someone because they consistently left poor tips, and it was a reflection of his lack of generosity in general. Yeah. But I thought, well, maybe I can teach him that you should tip more. Maybe he just doesn't know. Yeah. And so I would hey, can I have $5? And he'd say, yeah, and he'd give it to me, and then I'd go put it on the table. To make it a better tip, or to give him a tip. And he never really said anything or seemed to notice. And then to me, it ultimately just showed some other lack of generosity. But anyway, I let myself digress because I get so caught up in my process. But so at the time, I didn't know I was creating this process that I would later use. I'm just doing it for myself.
Which is what I love about your story, is that you actually did this. Yeah. And now you've taken it and made it into actually giving back to people like myself who are looking for love.
I'm doing the same thing I did. It's a little bit, I've updated it because it's been 12 years since I've been on the internet, and there's things that are changed, but, and language, like the word ghosting never existed when I was on the internet. Right. My early clients really taught me a lot of that, because I'm busy going, what's that word mean? And I wanted to take weight off the table. I just didn't. That was the most painful thing about being online. I just wanted it off the table. So I found a website that was part of a much bigger database of websites. But you could go into this, basically one of their pages where it was for women that were large and men that were, and also so that I didn't have that issue. Like if you were there, you're interested in women that are a variety of sizes, because there were, sizes 14 to whatever, and it was just so that if you wanted a more full-bodied woman, that would be, if you're a man and that's what you were looking for, there was going to be a lot of women full-bodied on that site.
Yeah, I like that.
And within 3 weeks, I started talking to this guy that lived in Phoenix, and I lived in Denver at the time. And eventually I gave him my phone number, and then we started talking on the phone every day, either 5 minutes or an hour. And at some point he started to get a little more serious on the phone. I mean, like flirting kind of serious. And I was like, we're about as far as we're going to go until I physically see that I'm not that, it's just not, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm too old-fashioned or whatever. So he said, okay, when are you available? Are you available next weekend? I'll come up. So
just like that.
And so he came up, and after that we basically stayed together. His name's Rick. And I went offline a couple weeks after that and just said, okay, I'm going to pursue this relationship. He did the same.
I love that.
And we went back and forth because again, I was in law school, so I wasn't able to travel a lot, but every other weekend pretty much for the next 2.5 years until I graduated.
You're flying to each
going
other.
back and forth, or we'd meet somewhere. We met in Vegas one time. We went to Mexico for traveling. I always recommend my clients to travel with anybody they're dating within the first year.
You can tell a lot about a person when you're on vacation with them.
This is not about just meeting the one and then going off into the sunset like fairy tale. This meeting someone you think is a good potential, that's when the work begins. To really have to be clear with yourself, is this a good potential for me to put all my eggs in your basket? That's the first one. Like, I'm going to stop dating other people. I'm going to get offline. I'm going to be committed to see where this goes. And initially that's all I thought. I didn't think, oh, we're getting married 2 years from now. I thought, I'm just going to see where this goes. School had started again, so I couldn't stay on the internet as much anymore, so it worked out great. So I thought I was all successful because my goal was to find someone good to date, and I did that. And then 2 years later, at my law school graduation, he asked me to marry him in front of all my family and friends that were in town. It was very romantic and very cool. And I moved down here to take the bar because I didn't have to leave my job. I was going to get to stay with the same company and be a lawyer, so it made more sense. They didn't care where I lived, so it made more sense for me to move. And so I'm here, and now we just had our 10th wedding anniversary in March.
Happy 10th anniversary.
Thank you.
I love it.
He is my best friend. And when we got married, he was my best friend. Like, I wouldn't have married him if he hadn't become my best friend in that time period. It wasn't like the fairy tales. There was work. We had deaths in the family. He lost his father while we were dating. We had the recession, and he's an architect, so we had the recession while we were dating. From 2007, 2008 recession, which really hit his business really hard.
Big loss.
And so we went through a lot. After we got married, he's had cancer. We've had other ups and downs just with our kids because we've grown kids. We became grandparents together, so that was really great.
Nice.
And so all the ups and downs, and throughout that. Through adversity, we get closer and the enjoyment and never taking anything for granted. So it is significantly better than any fairy tale or dream that I ever imagined as a child, or as a young lady, because and he is absolutely 100% not my physical type.
Really?
I mean, now he is, because I think he's scrubby and
right.
We have great sex life, but if I had just been visually looking for I would not hit. I would have. If we had Tinder at the time and I had been swiping, I would have swiped whatever the direction is that says no match. If that's all I was judging on.
Interesting.
Now, a couple of reasons. One, he had horrible pictures up.
And guys tend to do that.
Guys don't get the whole marketing aspect of it.
Right.
And it was earlier on, so it wasn't quite as sophisticated online dating that we do now, and people are a little bit more aware of the marketing aspect of it. But still, I see some of the I see a lot of profiles given what I do every day. I go online with my clients and we'll look at profiles together, and I still see a lot of guys that don't get it. But when you read their profiles, they sound like really cool people, but their pictures are not representing that.
Yeah.
Same with women, because I have male clients, and when we go online, sometimes you see these women whose stories are told differently by the pictures than what they say on their profile. They're not consistent. So anyway, I went on and was a lawyer for 10 years and 12 years, and then decided to leave the company at corporate America in 2018, and had this little idea that I've been kind of coaching people informally. When people would say, how did you do that? I explain, and I go, oh, you should tell people that. Why don't people do that? Yeah. And so I just went to the seminar about celebrating your life and kind of adding creativity and kind of finding passion in your life, and either voluntary or drawing or whatever, but just something kind of that what I had said I'd wanted in Rick, which is this passion outside yourself.
Yeah.
And when I walked out of that seminar, I was a dating coach and I had 2 clients. So,
that's when you know you're onto something, when you walk out of somewhere and people have already signed up.
And those 2 people found love. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
They were really, really ready. So the work came very naturally to them. So I have other clients with a little more struggle, and we have to spend a lot more time in the front end. But it's been amazing. Yeah. My goal is to go to 10,000 weddings of
from your clients.
From my clients.
Oh, I love that.
That's my big audacious goal.
Yeah. Are you at a certain number?
No. Well, I've only been doing it since 2018. So my oldest relationships for my clients are only 1 year. So I would never recommend that they decide to get married within that shorter time.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm fairly certain that one or both the original clients are in the oldest relationships. I'm fairly certain one of them, not both, will get married. But they're still in that stage of traveling together and going through life cycles together and going through holidays together and figuring out how to blend their lives, because especially when you meet, when you're in your 30s or 40s, like one client was in her mid-40s, the other one was in her mid-30s. Yeah. You have lives.
Right.
And to coincide those with someone else or to merge them with someone else takes some effort and logistics
and
how do you do it? And in our case, we were in 2 different cities. So for us, it became very natural and easy because of that long-term relationship prior to that, before we actually had to merge our lives,
Well, I like that you started off by saying you knew what you needed. I mean, we all have this, laundry list of, what we're looking for in guys, but narrowing it down to 5, like you said, the elevator.
Yeah. Something you can remember. If someone said to you, you're one of your best friends or somebody that you feel comfortable giving this information to said, what are you looking for? You could not pull out your list of 37 things. I mean, you wouldn't be able to articulate it.
A few the most important ones.
Well, and also the most hurtful ones, because part of what I work with my clients on and I had to go back and look at what I did for myself. I didn't know at the time, why this worked. And I was just doing what kind of from my business background, but that also I'd had a lot of therapy in my life. So just using some of the things that I knew worked from that, as far as mind resets and mindset and, changing my beliefs and all of that.
Right.
And part of it is, it gets into your cellular memory. I mean, if you say it and you believe it and it's in your heart and you're asking questions around it, at first it will feel awkward. And then very quickly it's not awkward because it's important to you.
It becomes,
and you know what questions to ask, and you can tell by how someone responds if they're being genuine or giving you a script.
Right.
And because sometimes, it's natural for all of us when we don't feel confident about something and we want to try to get somebody, like we're physically attracted to them and we want to try to get them, we will say what we think they want to hear. Yeah. And guys do that too. And it's not that they're bad. It's just that if they really are attracted to you and they want to get you, they naturally will say, unless they're super confident. So if they're really confident, then they're just going to say their truth, right?
Yeah.
But we're all big messed up blobs, So at any one moment, and that's why having these guideposts helps.
Yeah.
Because it helps you when your libido is triggered because of someone, it really helps you be careful about
like check
moving
yourself
forward, checking.
and slow down a little bit and not let that drive your decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because then you look, and if you look at your past relationships, when we should spend a lot of time at the beginning with clients looking at past relationships, not to make anybody bad or wrong, but to learn from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to find patterns.
Yeah. I want to read something that somebody sent to me. It's a text message that came today around the brain. It says the human brain is awesome. It functions 24 hours a day from the day we were born and only stops when you're taking an exam or when you fall in love. I thought that was funny. We do make some really stupid decisions, and I know I have.
Well, and there's a time to let your libido, I say that libido is a teenage driver.
Yeah.
You know, like they're a teenager and they make the decisions of a teenager who's got their hormones raging. And so if you let a teenager drive your car and it's a windy road and you haven't really cleared the path and don't know exactly where you're going yet, that can be a very dangerous proposition.
You're going to end up in a ditch or something.
And maybe it'll work out great because you're lucky, but it won't be because you could see ahead because it was a windy road and you couldn't see ahead.
Yeah.
If you put the teenager gets to stay in the car, we're not getting rid of the libido, putting the teenager in the back seat.
Yeah.
And then saying you can drive when the road is straight and you can see where you're going and you have a certain amount of trust with that person.
I like that.
And that invariably happens with someone who's not your physical type.
Right.
When someone's your physical type, your libido is screaming in your ear. When someone's not your physical type, then it's way easier for you to just keep them in the back seat because they're like playing on their phone. You know, it's a teenager playing, not interested. Maybe we'll get interested later if something catches their attention, and as you relax and as you trust, or if you say, "Hey, do you want to drive?"
Right.
Then they'll get interested.
Yeah.
But they're not screaming in your ear because they're not interested in where you're going with that person.
Yeah,
you know?
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I like that, and I hope that a lot of people would listen to that part because that, to me, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's
a great reminder for sure.
And it's a great tool for me. So when I'm talking to a client and I see that they're dating someone, not because their libido, it's not in and of itself that it's because the libido's triggered, it's because I can see them negotiating with themselves on what I already know are their non-negotiables.
Mm-hmm.
And I just say, okay, well, I'm never going to judge you. It's not my job to judge you. And these negotiables these non-negotiable commitments are not to me. They're to yourself.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, hey, you seem to indicate that he or she is missing blah, blah, non-negotiable, or you don't know because you haven't asked questions around it. Usually it's because they kind of know that they probably don't have it, so they are afraid to ask the question.
Right.
Because they don't want the answer because their libido is screaming in the back seat going, let me drive. And let's just go have a fun time and see where it goes.
Yeah, and I think that can also be the flip side of that, right? When you meet somebody and maybe your libido is not doing that, you're not really attracted to them.
Yeah.
But they're probably a really good match. Should you? What can you do about that?
I say 5 to 6 dates. Real dates, not movies dates where you're sitting in a screen for 3 hours and going home. Like real dates where you can talk about things and get to know them and have interactions. Go do some fun things together, but where you're interacting, not just sitting in front of a screen.
Yeah, where you're really getting to know that person.
Really getting to know that person. Slowing down with them and really trying to figure out who they are as a human being and have them be that curiosity with you.
Yeah.
Watching the things that we talked about, like how they treat others, having a problem come up and seeing how they solve it. Like, your Uber ride doesn't show up and it's raining and you can't get another one, or, something happens. How are you guys handling stress together?
Yeah.
Not just that you're sitting back letting them take care of the problem, but how do you solve that problem together? How's under stress? What happens to your interactions?
Yeah.
Because that's why I recommend mostly about traveling, because there's nothing more stressful than something will always go wrong in traveling.
Yep.
A plane will be late. The luggage will get lost. Somebody will trip and get hurt. Something will happen. It's most all travel indicate. It's just frustrating to travel. And how you handle those frustrations together, it's not that one or both of you are bad or wrong in how you handle it. It's almost like how do you mesh on that?
Right.
Is your travel stress, do you manage it well together? Because it's a good indication of how you'd manage an argument together, any kind of like everyday stress that might come up in the relationship. So, and, you know, just if traveling is not important to one of you and it is to the other, that's a big life difference.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, and 5 to 6 dates will kind of give you an idea.
Well, my experience, I didn't have to do that personally because we had such a long-term relationship, long distance. We talked every day for a month and a half before we met. Okay. And so we knew, so we kind of had those dates offline, right?
And these days you can do it on
Zoom. Zoom,
you know, FaceTime.
Right. And so in our case, because of distance, we had a lot of that really in-depth conversation way beforehand. So when we met, he was so much better looking than his pictures. I was so happy.
I love it. Nice surprise. I love it.
Bright blue eyes, all the things that a flat picture is not going to show you. Here's this human being that and then as we immediately went on a real date right from the airport, and our conversation, you know, it was a 5-hour dinner of just kind of
like you were really
catching up, testing each other. It was a little bit of a test of, are you really that person I thought you were?
Right. Yeah.
And it was fun though. It wasn't like, I wasn't grilling him like a lawyer. You know? It was, although I think he might disagree, but we'll have to ask him what he thought.
Right.
I didn't think I was.
So let's talk about what you do for your clients and, you know, do you want to walk us through a little bit about, you know, do you want to talk about your event or do you want to talk about?
Oh, I can do both. Okay. So I have the main way that my clients work with me right now is one-on-one. And that means that the front end work before you actually get online can take 6 to 7 sessions. And if they're meeting me every week, that's, you know, 6 or 7 weeks. If they're meeting with me every other week, depending on their schedule, then it's going to take, you know, a couple of months before they actually get online. So one of the things that in talking to my existing clients and just other people that I know that are potential clients that I heard was that front end process for, I want to start sooner. So what can how do I collapse that one-on-one coaching? And this won't work for everyone because some people actually need that time to walk themselves through it. But what I've done for that person that is ready for love and needs to kind of do this front end part of the process and walk out with a dating plan that they can then enact in this way that we've kind of referred to already. I've put together a women's retreat. I'm focusing on women first. And then I'll do a man if that goes well and it seems to work, to collapse it all into 3 days.
Oh, I like that. So instead of the multiple sessions, you're doing a retreat, which is also fun in that you're around the other women. And
so it'll be other single women. It's at an estate here in Scottsdale or Paradise Valley. It's September 27th through the 29th. Of this year,
2019.
And I am curating who's going in because I want it to be a group that is ready for love. And if someone's not quite there and needs a little more because I'm not going to be able to work one-on-one with everybody in that scenario. It's going to be a very small, intimate group. It'll be less than 10 people. I have my client who happens to be a life coach who found love using the same process. She specializes in career changes and people that are introverts, because she's an introvert, and how you make connections, even if you might be an introvert. Now I'm an extrovert, but I have learned a lot from her on how you make connections kind of in this online world, right? And so she's going to come and talk about that and talk about her own experience, kind of being coached through my process. And we're going to have all kinds of goodies there for women. I want them. This is a VIP retreat, so the women will be treated very well.
Oh, I love that.
And they're going to have lots of known goodies and some not known goodies that will be giving them little surprises to make them feel very special and cared for. For anyone that hasn't been online in a while or wants to revamp, I'm doing a done for you profile as a bonus.
Okay.
So we will do a master profile for you. That's one of the things that my clients have been most successful with in improving the quality of their dates, even before finding the right person to just move forward with.
Right.
Just improving the quality of your dates to begin with. And a lot of times you can do that in your profile by having your profile be really clear about who you are. And then that way people self-eliminate if they're not a good fit for you. And then people that might be a good fit for you are going to be attracted.
They'll be looking for.
They're going to go, wow, this is exactly what I've been looking for. And then the other thing, especially if you're a woman looking for a man, men are very visually oriented, and a lot of them won't read the profiles right away because they're visual, and it's just natural the way their brain works. So we work on the profile picture so that they tell the story that is consistent with the profile.
Yeah.
So sometimes my clients are missing pictures from the group of pictures they usually give me, and I help curate down to what should be in that profile. Or they're older and we need more current. So I'm going to have a photographer there who's
fun.
She's done a lot of profile pictures. She's really good and fun photographer, so we're going to have her there. She's professional. This is what she does for a living. She's really good at it. So we're going to have her there to beef up people's profiles.
That's a nice added benefit.
Yeah, and there'll be lots of time for yourself and lots of places in this state to go to get away and kind of think through things. Or if you do that better in a small group, there'll be lots of ways to do that. And, you'll eat really well.
Oh, that's awesome. That's even better, right? Even better. Yeah.
So that's one way for anyone who really is ready to go. And so what I'll be doing is a consult with them first to make sure that that's the right venue for them, and or whether they'd be better for the one-on-one coaching. Or, sometimes after talking, we both agree that either they're not ready right now, or my process isn't the right process for them. And I want this to work for every one of my clients. And it's frustrating for me to coach when someone's not the right fit for me just in my style. So I will do my best to help them figure that out.
Yeah, and you need to get to that 10,000 weddings. So you need.
I know, that's my big audacious goal, right? I want to go to 10,000 weddings.
Yeah, so you need to pick the right clients that are ready and they're coachable, and they're willing to put in the work to really find that person that they are looking for and be found. Yeah.
And to be okay with who they are. Yeah. It doesn't mean that we're perfectly always happy. And when I like to lose weight, yes, in my relationship with Rick, I've gone up and down, and he doesn't care. He wants me to be healthy and happy. That's what he wants.
Because that's what I loved about how you told your story, is that you put yourself to attract the person who or to be in a site where, one, you're not going through that rejection of you're telling the person okay, this is what my weight is. Yeah. But you put yourself in a website where there's none of that, because everybody that's there is looking for, they're open to meeting anybody. I struggle with that a lot as a person of color.
Yeah.
Being on Match.com, eHarmony, whatever. And when you look at the studies they've done, they always say that the Black female is at the bottom of the barrel in terms of being, attractive and stuff. So I have that in my mind, and I'm thinking, I know.
And you're one of the most attractive people I know. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I mean, but I struggle with that, you know, but I never did the research to say what dating website is the right one for a Black female to go. Maybe I'm always putting myself in those sites where, they've done the studies and found out we're the bottom. I don't know.
Well, and also in your geography.
Right.
And what are you looking for? So if you don't care what race you're looking for, you wouldn't want to go to a Black only website.
Right.
Because then you would probably only meet Black men, unless that's what you really, really want. And that's nothing wrong with that. I never judge my clients for whatever they really, really want.
Yeah, we all want what we want.
I have a client that is Jewish right now, and she's looking, finally, we kind of had to walk through some steps, but she finally got to the point where we realized she's really looking for a Jewish gentleman.
Okay.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
And because that was home for her.
And that gentleman is there. waiting.
But it made it much more clear about what kind of website to go on, right?
Mm-hmm.
It makes it more clear about when you're evaluating profiles, if you are on a general website, too, because there's all this noise. And so your best chance of reducing the noise is to be really clear in your heart what you know will really help you have a long-term relationship with someone.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that a general website won't work, but if hiking is imperative for you, you want to go hiking every weekend and you don't want to do it by yourself, you really want someone to go with you. I have another client who really wants someone to go dancing with. They don't have to dance with her, but they need to enjoy that. Because she wants them to just want to go to the dance by herself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she's never made that a priority in her prior relationships. And it wasn't the only downfall of those relationships, but it certainly didn't add the spice, right?
Right.
So there are ways on websites to go to places where there's where you can meet dancers. There's a website for everything right now. It's crazy. Sometimes in your geographical area, it won't work because it'll be too small of a website. And if it's not like big in your area, it might not work, but we just keep trying. So I have some clients that are on 2 sites at a time. I don't recommend more than 2 at a time. Too much noise. Mm-hmm. But and then we just see which one works. And if one doesn't work, we drop it and we add another.
You try another one. Yeah. I like that.
And all my clients, even ones that are still looking, because it is a little bit of there's a luck aspect to this. I don't believe that there's just one person out there for everyone. I believe there are many people out there for each person, but it's still because our world's so big and we're so busy, and there is some uniqueness to who you're looking for. You do need to spend the time and get out there, and it's not just online. You can go dancing, you can do meetups is a great tool. There are so many things that you can do, and that's what I help my client do. And at the retreat, when you leave, you will have a dating plan.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to do. This is who I'm looking for. This is the relationship I want. And this is my plan.
You're going to be clear.
And just like any business plan, you're going to adjust it on dating. I'm going to try something for a while, stay committed long enough to see if it's really working or not just right away. If you get, and then if you figure out that's not working, then you move. And resiliency and consistency in not starting and stopping a lot, and responding to people promptly, all those things are how you set yourself up for success.
I like that. No, I really, really appreciate you being here and sharing. I think it kind of confirms some of the things that I have been sharing with my audience on my podcast in terms of you need to know your values, you need to know your goals, you need to know, what your needs are, what do you need in a partner. And, just when you put all that into place, I think it's easier to be able to recite to your friends to say, this is who I'm looking for and this is what I want.
And own it.
Yeah. And then being able to identify the person when you meet them.
Right.
Because you've decided. Yeah,
it's my analogy of the car, right? When you're looking for a car and whatever make or model it is, like Toyota Prius was a car we wanted a while ago, and we never thought, there's not that many around here, and then all of a sudden we see them all over the place.
That's a great example. If you get clear on what your needs are, your goals are.
Yeah, and they were always there. Our filter wasn't set up for them. And so when you get clear and your filter's set up, it's like resetting your filter for what you really not want, and not what your pattern wants or what your libido wants, but really this high quality other person.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much for taking time to share your own love story, you tried it and it works, and now you're sharing with other people, and so far you already have some success stories. So thank you for taking time to share with my audience.
My absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I am genuinely so happy that you made it to the end of this episode. Thank you so much. And please let people know that you are subscribed to this podcast. Show your love and support by sharing this episode on your social media platforms to your friends, so that more and more people can listen to these stories, so that you can help me reach my downloads this goal that I have to quadruple the numbers for last year. And let me know what difference these episodes are making in your life. You can tag me, you can tag the podcast. And thank you again. I cannot wait to share the next episode with you.